Vicky. Today we have in our studio a very, very special author, filmmaker. He is a Los Angeles-based author, filmmaker, Ghalib Shiraz Dhalla. And his book is coming out very soon. In fact, I think today he has a reading at Barnes & Nobles. And the book has already been released it has been published in India. This is the so-called premiere here in New York or America. Welcome to the program, Ghalib.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
I'm excited to see the book, and it's such a pretty book. Look at the cover, how beautiful
gorgeous.
It is, right?
It has the Krishna blue.
And it goes with the title. The title of the book is the Two Krishnas.
Right.
And this is your first novel.
This is my second novel.
This is your second novel.
Yeah, the first novel was Ode to Lata, which came out in 2002. And then it's taken me all these years to write the second novel.
Well, you must have done lots of research to write this second novel.
Absolutely.
And this is a novel which is written about love, about relationship between human beings. I'm not talking about man and woman or man and woman and woman. It's about love between two human beings. So tell us a little bit about this book.
Sure. The Two Krishnas, when I set out to write this novel, I wanted to explore the wages, the really high cost of entering into a relationship, either with yourself or with another person, based on deception and lies. Whether this is a man that is unable to come to terms with his sexuality, or a wife that is reluctant to see the truth about the man that she's in love with and has married. At the center of this book is a beautiful Indian woman called Pooja Kapoor, who is well into her 40s. And has been raised in a very traditional way to believe that her husband is sort of God incarnate, and discovers that her husband is having an affair with a younger man, which capsizes her world and compels her to question not just her marriage, but her sense of self-worth, her religion, which is what we all fall back on in hard times. So the book is from the perspective of the husband, the wife, and the lover, because I wanted readers to get a very intimate perspective, because as we all know, the truth is universal, but depending on the perspective, there's a little variation to it.
So when she finds out what age group you're talking about, this is a middle-aged couple, or younger couple, or older couple?
The wife is in her late 40s, almost 50. The husband is certainly at 50. The lover is old enough to be their son.
So the reason I'm asking you this question is that for a middle-aged person to come out and have an open relationship,
right, and
especially if that's from the Indian background,
sure,
how difficult or how easy do you think it could be?
Well, it's catastrophic, especially because when a man and a woman have entered into marriage and they have immigrated, they have raised a family, and then late in life when a man decides to come out or has found something that he feels completes him more, everybody is at stake. So the book does sort of explore how, unfortunately, we have all created a society in which this kind of deception is commonplace and becomes necessary, so that people enter into marriages because it's expected of them, and they don't have the courage to be who they are until too late in life. And then when that happens, they end up destroying everyone.
And that's a tough situation.
That's a tough situation, because I think it's important to realize that the culpability eventually lies with not just the man that has entered into this marriage. It lies with all of us, because we have barricaded the pathways for these individuals to feel proud of who they are, to lead an honest life. We have sort of made it incumbent on them to do what we consider the normal or the right thing. But in the end, it backfires.
But when we talk normal, whose perception we are talking
Absolutely.
about, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's an individual perception we are talking about.
Absolutely, Ambalika. It's what we have picked from our literature, from our religious doctrine, our dogmatic belief system, and what we've decided to enforce on the world at large. And being conservative as Indians are, we find that this kind of a tragic situation is not unique. It's commonplace, but people don't talk about it. So hopefully, thanks to this book, maybe it'll open up a conversation.
So do you think that is the main reason that prompted you to write this book?
It's definitely one of the main reasons.
That people should start talking about
That
it.
people should start talking about it.
There are other work of literature also about taking the same subject of the same sex or sexuality of a human being.
Right.
So this is not the first book. Two Krishnas.
Oh no, I by no means want to promote this as a groundbreaking novel, but I think every novel is unique. Hopefully there's a perspective here that is unique because you get to be in the souls of all three of them. The husband and the wife come from Kenya. They're Indian immigrants that have been torn from the motherland. So we also go into the diaspora. It's not just about a relationship between the husband, wife, and a lover. It's also about understanding how Indians ended up in other parts of the world. I was born in Kenya. My family has been there for generations. So I wanted to also try and understand, how did we end up in Kenya? So the book takes you to the 1800s when Indians came to Kenya to build the East African Railway for the British, and explores just how we continue to live in an era of uncertainty, because even though we're born there, it still feels like we could be told to get out any time. Hopefully this book sort of encompasses not just infidelity, but also diaspora.
And you mentioned that you are from Kenya. You were born
Sure.
in Kenya, but you're now based in LA.
Los Angeles,
Right.
yes.
So how much your background or your upbringing in an Indian family, you were raised in Kenya,
As a Muslim.
as a Muslim, and then coming to LA, which is a very sort of open society,
Right.
considering the rest of, I think USA also,
Right.
LA is still, I think, is quite open society.
It can
So
be.
how was the process developing your life from Kenya to LA?
I have to thank my family and my mother especially, who single-handedly raised me, and the community I was brought up in, which is the Ismaili community, because I think that there was a progressive upbringing. I never felt a conflict between my spirituality and my sexuality, which actually helped me when I came to this country. The God that I worship doesn't love me any less because I choose to love another man. If you think that's the case, then the people who have this despotic and limited idea of God, they need to re-examine whether they're on the side of goodness or evil. So that really created a very firm foundation for me. However, it was difficult because there's newfound freedom. You come from a country where it's not accepted to be gay, even from a community that doesn't openly embrace it. And then you find yourself on this journey, and it's an interesting journey, and I think that's what I tried to capture in my first novel, Ode to Lata, which is about a young Indian kid that comes to Los Angeles with Bollywood music playing in his mind, and has to work all his insecurities out before he can accept himself.
Now, the Two Krishna has been released in India.
Yes.
And it is releasing here today.
Right.
But in the meantime, it has gotten some very good reviews also.
Yes, I'm very grateful.
Good reviews about I was reading, and most of the authors, they really liked the book.
Yes, I'm so grateful to my peers. Lisa C, Chitra Divakaruni, Bapsi Sidhwa, authors that I look up to and who have a very strong voice. And I'm grateful that it's resonated with them. I think ultimately because, gay or straight, Indian or not Indian, we all feel pleasure and pain the same way. And so with this book, hopefully, I tried to write a love story that transcended all these boundaries, ironically by calling those very things out and then sort of unleashing them against a backdrop of just human drama. I guess it's worked.
Ghalib, you mentioned your earlier work, which is Ode to Lata.
Right.
And first of all, is it an autobiographical?
It's semi-autobiographical. I think it's natural for most writers to have their first novel be somewhat autobiographical.
And how did Lata came into the picture?
I don't think she probably doesn't even know about it. Lata is not a character in the book as much as she is sort of the director, and I think it's as Indians that grow up to Bollywood music, I listened to the Lata and Madan Mohan songs growing up. She's more than just a pop diva. She becomes your psyche. When you fall in love, when you're in pain, she becomes the subconscious, the soundtrack of your life.
So each scene was influenced by one of her songs, or what?
No. She's definitely
because
in
her songs they carry all emotions.
Oh, absolutely.
So happiness, sadness.
Absolutely. I think it's just I think it's inevitable that when you're an ardent fan of Bollywood films and Hindi music, especially Lata's, that when you're in a situation where you're elated, maybe one of her happy songs will start playing in your mind, or when you're sad, you'll see, Malasina, in the moonlight, or.
Those were the melodious music.
Oh yeah, and that's even now that is absolutely my favorite type of music.
And then that book became into a movie.
Yes.
Did you direct it?
I co-directed that movie. Yes.
Okay. How was that? I think because it was shown in few film festivals also, and it did win some award.
Yeah. Well, it did especially well. It hasn't been widely released as yet because of certain issues that I'd rather not get into. But it was interesting to see your book come alive. And I worked with some amazing people. Actors like Rebecca Hazelwood, whom I think we last saw in Outsourced, an actor called Sachin Bhatt, Parvesh Cheena, who was also on Outsourced. And I've made some lasting friendships, and I hope to work with them again. In fact, Rebecca Hazelwood, who plays my mom in The Ode, is the lead in the film that we're working on right now called Embrace, which is based on the Mumbai terror attacks.
Okay. So you are going into two different directions, book writing and the movie making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both time consuming.
I'm a schizophrenic Gemini, so I have to do 50 things at one time.
Any plan for turning this Two Krishnas also in movie?
I have been asked that, but I think right now I am preoccupied with launching it as a book. I'm sure it'll happen sooner or later, and I'm still also very busy with Embrace, which is the second film.
So going back to Lata, did you write the script also for that?
I did, yes.
Okay, so
I wrote the script, and I had a co-writer, Akshat Verma, who actually just wrote the film Delhi Belly. So we worked on the script together.
Tell me, Ghalib, how difficult or how easy, or what do you think about, like you said, the labels are, people do put their own labels, their own perceptions on another person.
Right.
Would you like to be called South Asian gay writer?
I'm very proud of that because my work reflects my culture. I don't mind it, but I do think that.
But do we have to put the word gay in there? Why can't we just be with the South Asian writer?
Absolutely, and that is why I'm so. I applaud HarperCollins in India, which released this book as The Exiles. The title in India is called The Exiles. And, it's a mainstream publisher, and they very courageously published the book, and it's a very bold subject. So I think the world is changing. I think people are beginning to recognize good books for what they are, just good books, and they don't need to ghettoize these things according to gay or straight or South Asian or non-South Asian.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, when you read a good book and you really, if the book really resonates and if it really works, hopefully it has also managed to get you past those limitations, so that by the time you're in the thick of it, you're not focused on the sexuality as much. You're more focused on the emotion, on the pathos of those characters.
So you wanted to be a writer from the childhood, or you were on some other career path?
No, I was 5 years old when I told my mom that I wanted to be an author. I think she probably got a heart attack thinking, oh God, now I've got to raise this kid and now he wants to go be a writer. God help me. But, she bless her, she encouraged, she never discouraged me. And I remember sort of tracing out covers of the novels I would write and tapping away, until late at night on some gibberish, and collecting books that I couldn't even read because I just loved the feel of them, the tactile pleasure of them.
You mentioned India, that the book was released there as a plain, simple author-writer.
Right.
In India, the society has been not very open about homosexuality or the gay rights. Only last year the courts have given permission that is okay, it's nobody's business.
Right.
What do you think about that?
And what a great accomplishment. I mean, we've finally shaken off these archaic Victorian laws. I think it's something that we should all be very proud of, not just as a nation, but as a people. You know, we've sort of leapt forward into the modern age in terms of what our understanding of sexuality is. It's going to take a while, but I think we should
But still society is not very open there. I mean, the legal victory might have been, but
Right.
the society is not
Right.
that open. So what do you
You know,
comment about
I
that?
haven't, the last time I went to India was a while ago. I have some very good friends there, and they're in the film industry. Some of them are famous, fashion designers. And I think their sexuality is rather prominent. It's there.
But I'm talking about in general in the society. These are the people who are like they are an icon sort of thing, or may not be icon, but they are fashion people
Right.
or people who are on news all the time.
Right.
But what about the regular day-to-day life?
You know, it's tough, and that is why I think we need to write books like these. I think that's why we need to have more conversations. And, you know, just as it was a little difficult for my mother or my parents to accept my sexuality, I think we have to also be understanding of how we disseminate information to the public at large. You know, little morsels at a time. We can't expect people to sort of switch overnight. We just have to be persistent and patient. It's this fine balance where you don't give up, but at the same time, you don't want to overwhelm people as well, so that you come off being terribly militant about the movement.
You cannot be militant
Right.
about any
Right.
movement, so
Right.
that backfires. Always backfires.
Absolutely.
So, you can't do that. Ghalib, any interest in music? I mean, do you sing? You said you are very fond of singing.
In the bathroom.
Yeah,
In the bathroom. If you were my neighbor, you would
So
probably want to move out.
When you were making ode to Lata,
Yeah.
do you use her voice, her music in the background, or what do you do?
We do, actually. We've got you mean when writing or in the film?
In the film.
In the film, absolutely. We have some of her songs in there. At pivotal moments when we move to the relationship between the mother and the father.
Do you have to take some permission from
Oh yeah, it's totally authorized.
Would you like to show it to Lata?
I would love to meet her. I don't know what I would say. You know,
Here is the picture.
I don't know what I would say. It's like meeting a deity.
I don't think
Right?
she has any commercial film made out where her name is used in the title.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's,
documentaries.
or a book. Yeah, I think. But you know, she's on another level. I'm sure she's impervious to such things. But you know, she's a part of the soundtrack of my life at this point, whether she likes it or not.
Ghalib, the scene in LA and scene in New York, how different it is in South Asian community as far as the gay scene goes or homosexuality is considered. Have you found
Within
any?
New York and LA?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much the same. You know, I think this country, I mean, East Coast, West Coast, they've gotten to a point where they're able to express their sexuality more openly, you know, to care a little bit less about what people think. I don't think there's a substantial difference. You know, I don't come to New York very often, but you know, I'm sure I'll be meeting a lot of my friends this weekend and partying like I was in LA. So.
And you are doing a lot of work for the gay and lesbian community also in LA.
You know,
Can you talk about your projects? Yeah?
I'm just very proud to be it, and it's not specifically me. I'm one of the co-founders of a couple of organizations. One of which is called Satrang, which is for questioning and out, you know, LGBT community. But you know what? It's such a dynamic group of people. I was there at the inception, and it was just a handful of friends that would get together at somebody's place to talk about issues, to find out what we could do to reach out to people that may be, afraid and feeling lonely, and
as a support system.
As a support system. And now, my God, it's a thriving, dynamic organization where Muslims, Hindus, and even non-Indians show up. And get together for music parties, to watch movies, to hang out and have coffee, cocktail nights. It's amazing, to have this extended family, because let's face it, a lot of gay and lesbian people are not fortunate enough to have that kind of understanding at home. Okay. And if it wasn't for an organization like this, where would they go?
And another organization you're part of?
Another organization is we started the South Asian AIDS Intervention Program for an organization called APAIT. And that involved going out to convenience stores, 7-Elevens, outreaching, going there, educating them more about safe sex. It wasn't as much about encouraging them to come out of the closet or anything like that. It was just making sure that if they were having relations with other men, that they were being careful. They were using protection, because some of these people may be married.
So you're raising awareness.
Awareness, absolutely. Awareness. Absolutely.
Getting back to this book, Two Krishna, you have a reading coming up also?
I do. I have one tonight at the Barnes & Noble, and I don't know what the address is.
That's okay.
New York addresses confuse me. And we have a launch party and reception on Thursday at the
IAAC is doing that.
IAAC,
Indo-American Arts Council is doing that.
At the Sundaram Tagore Gallery, and everybody's invited. So show up.
Sundaram will have a hard time.
No, it is. It's open to the public. There's books, there's wine, there's Indian appetizers.
And you'll do your book reading there?
I'll do a little book reading there too. Yeah.
When the book comes out,
yeah,
either this one or the first one, as an author, how do you feel?
It's the closest men will come to being pregnant and giving birth to something.
What is it?
Except it takes 5 years instead of 9 months. Not that it's any, it feels surreal. You hold something that you've been working on for years, and you don't know.
Up till that point, that is all in your mind. Here it is physically there.
Yeah, and you're living with these characters, because I was having a conversation with one of the actors on the set of my second film, Embrace, and I was telling them how much respect I have for actors, because actors have to penetrate the psyche of the character that they're playing and become that person. But now multiply that half a dozen times, and then think of what the author has to go through, because the author has to live with every one of those characters and sort of be schizophrenic enough to switch roles. Okay, now I'm the husband, now I'm the wife, now I'm the lover, now I'm the best friend. So it's a pretty intense journey, and you don't know what the reception's going to be, because you work in a sort of cave in solitude for years, and then finally, when the book comes out, that's when you find out if it's going to be received well or if it isn't. And the only gratification you can have at that point is this the book you wanted to write? So that no matter what the reception is, you feel vindicated, because this is absolutely what you wanted to say.
Last question.
Sure.
Can we talk a little bit about the title? The Two
Sure,
Krishnas?
Absolutely.
And you can see the book on your screen also. It's a beautiful cover. So let's just talk quickly about Two Krishnas.
Sure. Well, one of the
Krishnas?
things I wanted to explore was the duality in God and husband. We are multifaceted, and an Indian woman that is brought up traditionally to believe that a husband is an incarnation of God. Does that woman set herself up for a kind of mythic fall? Is what the question is. I don't see a husband. We have female deities. We have Durga, we have Saraswati, but I don't see a husband reaching out and touching the wife's toes. So there's a kind of hypocrisy there, and so I wanted to question how women can get empowered. Why is it the man is the god and the husband? Why isn't the woman a goddess and the husband needs to worship her? So it was very interesting to kind of go into not only Hinduism, but also Islam, and to sort of excavate where these theories are coming from. Another reason is I wanted the book to basically explore how fluid sexuality really is in Hinduism and in Islam. It's something that will shock a lot of people because we are so attached to puritanical texts like Mahabharata, Ramayana. But there's the Shiva Puranas, there's Padma Puranas, there's Islamic Sufi poetry. This book, Through the Wife, takes us on that journey to where we actually start to explore these texts and to realize that there's a duality in all of us. And unless we accept that duality in God, there's a merciful God, maybe there's an angry God, maybe God is neither straight or gay, your husband is neither one thing or another. Unless we examine something, can we truly love that thing, whatever it is, God or husband?
So there you have two Krishnas.
You have the two Krishnas, you have the duality in husband or God.
Thank you so much, Ghalib, coming here and
talking
about your book. And we wish you all the best for the success of this book.
Thank you.
And आप लोगों को बता दें, I was talking to Ghalib Shiraz Dhalla, who is a filmmaker, a writer, whose latest book, The Two Krishnas, are being released today. So, आपसे फिर मुलाकात होगी. आज्ञा दीजिए. नमस्कार.